Hello my fellow crafters and welcome back to Inspiration for Cards. Today I'm going to be making a birthday card and I'm going to use a fun technique, and that is a technique where I'm going to be embossing using a background plate. I love background plates. They give a card an instant finished feel. I mean, even if you would do it like this, it's already stunning. I'm going to be doing a lot more to it. So what I've done in preparation, I've already cut out my front layer. I've cut out the back layer that I'm going to be coloring. Then I'm going to be embossing that with the same background die that I used to cut this out. And that will give us a sort of a faux inlay technique look and feel. It's going to look very nice, dimensional, nice, etc. So for the rest of the card, I'm going to keep it quite simple because I don't want to take away from the beauty of this background. So I've cut out a piece of vellum. This is heat-resistant vellum from Fawn. I've cut that out using this size of the, how do you call these? The hexagons. So I've already done that in preparation to keep this video nice, short and sharp. So I've cut that out and I'm going to use this sentiment on there and I'm going to heat emboss that. Not sure yet with what color we'll use that. We'll decide that later on. But this Fawn vellum is heat resistant, so I can heat set that. So that's good. I like that. So let's dive in and start making this card. And I'm going to start by coloring the background. Now I'm going to save this because I know myself. This is white, and me and white doesn't stay white long. So I'm going to put this to the side on a safe spot. There we go. This I need later on. So I'm going to put that to the side as well. And then I've got my card base here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, and I just got my hands on the Saltwater Taffy. I love that color. It's the new Tim Holtz color. It's beautiful. And normally when I do an ink blend, I don't use inks simply because I'm not that good at ink blending. However, I'm going to give it a go. And I'm going to use my brush, and I might switch over to the ink, to the blending foams in a bit, but I'm not sure. I'm just going to see first how this is going. And I'm going to start with the lightest color. I'm going to blend it. It's going to be a tone-on-tone card, abandoned coral and saltwater taffy. Combination match made in heaven. I love coral colors, and I really like that it's now available in a lighter color as well. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be loading up my brush. Really make sure there's enough on there. And then I'm going to start to blend that onto my card. Now this is a piece of mixed media cardstock. I wanted it to be able to hold the embossing, and I needed a sturdy paper for that. So I'm going to see whether no, this is not putting down enough. I want a lot of color on there. I'm going to get my blending foam out and see if that works. And otherwise, I'll go direct to paper. There's many options for it. So I'm going to pick up this color, because the brush always dilutes the color a bit. And I'm going to go put that color on a bit more. Now, for some reason, blending with the normal inks were my nemesis, to call it like that. I think I've learned some skills after that. But yeah, blending with the oxides, for me, it gives such a nice blend. But I wanted to try this combination in ink, simply because I don't have abandoned coral in an oxide. And I did want to try this combination. So that's why I'm using the inks. I'm just going back and forwards, putting enough ink on there. Because that was always my fear when blending, especially with the blending tool, blending foam, and it became blotchy. Loading up more and going back. Just putting on enough color. Okay, that's that part done for now. Next I'm going to take abandoned coral, which I need to be careful because that's just re-inked. So that could be a bit intense. And I'm going to start blending on the edge here. Now you see already how well these colors match. I mean, it's the same undertone, just a bit brighter, a bit more intense. Now blending these two colors together, that's definitely not a challenge because they match so well. And this also doesn't have to be a perfect blend, because I'm going to do that embossing. It will change everything around anyway, and I'm going to splatter on it. I'm going to do more to it. So it doesn't have to be a perfect blend, but I do want enough color on there. So that's why I'm taking my time, really putting enough color on there. And I think that's also the magic with blending. It's going back and forth with the different colors. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sprayer, and I've sticked all sorts of glittery black vinyl on there, because in here I've got a mixture of very fine glitter and pearl and mica powder. And I'm going to spray this on here. And it's distress, so this will respond to water. It's water reactive. So I've sprayed that on. Now I'm going to dry that. I'm going to splatter some more. Okay, there we have it. Our beautiful background with the new color, Saltwater Taffy. Okay, so that's all nice and cleaned up. This is dry enough. So what I'll do now, I'll get my die cutting machine and I'll show you how to how to emboss using that plate. Okay, so I've got my Sizzix Big Shot fold away here, and I will show you. Now in the normal setting, so how I've cut this piece out is I've just put the paper on, put the die on like this, put the top plate on, and put it through. Then it cut beautifully. I've gone back and forward, and it has cut beautifully, as you can see. And now I don't want to cut. Now I want to emboss. So I'm going to take off my plates. And then I'm going to look at my platform. And that's the beauty of Sizzix, I think, that they put it on here. Whether it's on the Big Shot, the big one, or the small one, it doesn't matter. It's on there. So I'm going to use my embossing set for dies. And the sandwich you need is on here. So what you need for that is a plate. Then I'm going to put my die on, like so. Next, I'm going to put my paper on, like this. Then I've got this rubbery thingy, which you can squeeze. You can do anything with it. It's very flexible. It's made from silicone. You're going to put that on your paper. And then you get this impression pad, how they call it. And that's what you're going to put on top of that. And this is the sandwich that we're going to put through our Big Shot. Just put it through. And then what you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but when you run it through, that silicone pad is peeking out here and it's growing. That's what you want to see. Then I'm going to take it out. And here we have our embossed panel. Now it's gonna be crooked. That's not an issue at all. I will cut that off anyway. So we're gonna continue from here. Now what you see is that it's slightly cracked. Not an issue. I'm gonna take my blending tool. I'm just gonna go over that very lightly. There we go. You don't see the cracks anymore, so that's easy as is. So next step is trimming this down. So I'm gonna take my panel and just line up the lines with my guillotine trimmer and cut. Nice, perfectly cut panel. So now I'm gonna take this panel, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fit that over our embossed piece. And that fits like a charm. Do you see what I mean? Look at that. Isn't that cool? I don't know if you can see the structure. That's why I said it's not important if it's not a perfect blend. Look at that. So I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to glue this piece on here. But I love this, that you can stretch your supplies, that you can use something like a background die and turn that into an embossing. I love embossing. I will do a video shortly about this, about embossing folders, because I love embossing folders and I love to emboss. Yeah, this is also a very fun technique, and stretching your supplies is always a good thing. So if you have a Sizzix Big Shot and you don't have this silicone mat and this impression pad, there's a set you can buy. I'll link it below. I'll see if I can find it, and then I will link it below. You can use it for any Big Shot, so for any Sizzix machine. And if you have an Anna Griffin, there's one. If you have Gemini, there's an embossing pad as well. What's the other brand called? Well, all the brands have it. Let me put it that way. That's easier. Let me get my tweezers out. And then I will just line this up. And it's very easy to line up because there's only one way it fits. Look at that. I just think this is a stunning. Just press it down from the back. Making sure it's adhered everywhere. And I'm going to put this to the side to dry. Okay, so I've got my MISTI out and we will start to stamp our sentiment out. The happy birthday, I've already put it on here. Now the thing is, I've got my Saltwater Taffy embossing glaze out because I thought about using that, but there's a big but. Since the embossing glaze is a transparent glaze on a transparent vellum, you will not see it. You will not clearly see the sentiment, and we do want to see the sentiment. So I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna put my vellum on my stamp, press it down, and it's completely on the spot where I want it. Just a little tip of how I do it. Right. I'm gonna stamp this out using VersaMark. Really ink it up well. Use my anti-static tool. I don't want it to stick everywhere. And press it on. You can see I've got a nice impression, but I just want to make sure that it's absolutely perfect. So I'm going to put on a second one. So that has a perfect impression. Then I've got my metallic silver from Wow, and I'm going to be using that on this. So I took it out of the MISTI, put my MISTI away, and now I'm going to put on the embossing powder. Just dump it on there. Don't waste anything because everything is going back into the pot. Jiggle that around and tap off the excess. That looks perfectly fine to me. And then I'm going to heat set this. Now, since this is vellum, you really need to preheat your tool. I've got the Sizzix heat tool, any heat tool you have. I'm going to put it on the highest setting and I'm going to heat it first. Make sure it's really set to temperature because vellum tends to warp quickly. So I don't want that. It's heat resistant, but still. So I'm going to do that off camera because that's going to make a lot of noise. Look at that. Nice and shiny. And this is going to go on our card front. So I've got my card base, I've got my card front. I'm not going to put it up on 3D tape or anything because this has dimension enough as I think so. I'm going to use some double-sided tape, just the flat ones. But this stuff sticks like crazy. So that's what I like about this tape. And I'm going to put that on here all around, because I want this to be adhered pretty well. And since it has some embossing, it's not completely flat. So this is ready to go onto the card front. Just have to line it up nicely. That is on there nicely. Next, I'm going to take my vellum. I'm going to slightly offset that. Now, what I've got here is a piece of Scrapbook adhesives, not a piece, a thingy. It's the Easy Runner permanent fine adhesive, and they say it's suitable for vellum. I've tested it out a couple of times, and it actually, you don't see it. So what I'm going to be doing is behind the text, because I just want to be sure, I'm going to put some strips of this adhesive. And this should be enough to hold this vellum in place. And put this right there. And it's actually, I'm amazed every time. I still don't believe it. You don't see the adhesive behind it. So I'm going to take this and cut this off. There we go. So this is nice. Then what I want to do, now this is already a beautiful card, but I want to do something more. I've got my glitter box. Yay! All nice and shiny jewels. Okay, so I've decided on the silver one, so I'm going to open them up. I'm going to put some in here. This is a handy tool. I just got it, so I hope it works. But I'm sure it will. So I'm just going to put some in here. I've got my pokey tool, my thingy sticky. This is sort of a waxy top that helps me to pick up. I always like to work in groups of 3. Uneven. I don't know. Just feel it needs to come down a bit, but I can do that. Right, so I'm going to take my glue, just very little dots of glue. Okay, let's do this. Just put that on there. There we go. I think that just finishes it off nicely. So here we have it, a faux inlay technique using a cover plate die. We used to cut the front, but also used it to emboss with it. And that's what I love, the versatility of stretching your supplies to different things. I love the new Saltwater Toffee color. It's beautiful. It matches perfectly with the abandoned coral. It gives it a really nice gradient. Gives it a really nice gradient color. I love it, especially with the silver embossing. Yeah, I like how this card turned out. If you like it as well, please consider to subscribe to my channel, like and comment this video, and also, well, I've already said that with a like, but give it a thumbs up. All the supplies I've used are written down in the description box, so if you need something, you can find it there. Thank you for watching this one, and I really, really hope to see you for the next one. Thank you. Bye.